What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So Gogeta is a fan favorite character. He's an awesome character. I love him too. I think he's a really cool concept. But he's actually probably way cooler than even you realize, and that is the topic for today's video: Gogeta, the god of martial arts. Now, my favorite version of Gogeta personally is the version from Dragon Ball Super Broly. I think he is the most well done version of Gogeta. I do enjoy his appearance in the original Janemba film. I also enjoy his appearance in Dragon Ball GT, despite the fact that people don't really like his characterization. As a Journey to the West fan, I ate it up. But today's video is about Dragon Ball Super Broly's version of Gogeta and why he is depicted as a god of martial arts in that film. So first things first, let's determine what exactly and who exactly Gogeta is. Now, we all know that he is a fusion between Vegeta and Goku, but what exactly does that mean, and how exactly do they play on that in Dragon Ball? Well, Vegeta, as I've mentioned countless times in countless videos, is a representation of the ego in martial arts. And Goku is a representation of essentially successfully taming the ego and practicing martial arts. That's the reason he has sort of a tame version of what the Saiyans had when it came to their bloodlust, the type of bloodlust that Raditz tried to push onto him. Goku has a tame version of that, where instead of him being bloodlusted and enjoying destroying and killing everyone around him and using that to essentially get his fix for violence as a Saiyan, he uses martial arts to purify that aspect of his personality. And that aspect of each character is what they play on when it comes to the characterization of Gogeta. Vegeta is essentially someone who has a massive inflated ego, and Goku is a master at taming that ego as a martial artist. And so Gogeta, essentially as a character, has the greatest ego in the entire Dragon Ball universe. It's just that instead of allowing that ego to affect his actions and his conscious thoughts, he actually just practices martial arts, despite the fact that he is a supremely egotistical character on the inside by nature. So essentially, he is the most egotistical character you can imagine, even more so than Vegeta, I would argue. But because he has Goku's personality traits, he tames that and just practices martial arts on a masterful level. Now, this is very interesting for a number of reasons. One of my favorite reasons is it's very similar to what Sun Wukong became at the end of Journey to the West, and I know you knew that was coming. But essentially, by the end of Journey to the West, Sun Wukong accepts his identity, his ego, his inner demonic nature. He accepts who he is, and he combines it with his nature as a Buddhist martial artist. And Gogeta is a perfect representation of that, so much so that he arguably is characterized more like Sun Wukong than Goku or Vegeta combined, since each character represents different aspects of his character development and different sections of the story. So that, to me, has always made all of the fusions ridiculously cool, because it's playing on yin and yang, basically all the themes that Journey to the West plays on, and the principles of martial arts that affected Journey to the West as a story, as well as Journey to the West's effect on martial arts itself to this day. Because Journey to the West as a piece of fiction has had a significant impact on the martial arts world. People sort of use it as an allegory for how to successfully practice martial arts. You can look at Sun Wukong himself as a representation of your ego as a martial artist, and the story sort of explains to you in its own way the correct way to tame and implement that ego. So that makes Gogeta a ridiculously cool concept on its own, and it's very, very obvious that they're playing on that. If you look at Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, not only do they reflect, again, Sun Wukong's character traits from different aspects of the story, but it's very obvious that they are a yin and yang themed transformation, and then when you put the two together, you get Gogeta, which is a ridiculously cool concept. Now, in the Dragon Ball Super Broly film, the way that they portray to us that Gogeta is essentially a god of martial arts is his fight with Broly. Now, first of all, I just want to point out there are some really cool parallels if you pay attention between Broly's fight with Ba and Gogeta's fight with Broly. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I do like that there are some parallels there. I think that's a ridiculously cool concept, because essentially Gogeta is taming Broly, which I think is just a ridiculously cool concept. But it's Gogeta's behavior specifically that points to the idea that he is being portrayed as a god of martial arts. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Master Roshi, the character that taught Goku, was originally called the god of martial arts. Master Roshi is the god of martial arts. People don't understand this because, he's sort of become a gag character, a background character, but in the original series, he was considered the god of martial arts. And the reason he was considered that is because of what he taught as a martial artist. He taught Budo, which is a type of martial arts that is heavily influenced by Taoist and Buddhist principles, which is the reason that he teaches his students to kill their opponents in one blow and not to do it with any malicious intentions, because Buddhism and Taoism both is about preventing malicious intent affecting your thought processes, your mind, your thoughts, the way you perceive things, and your actions. The entire point of martial arts is, because you're using violence, to not allow that to affect who you actually are, your personality, your actions, your decisions. You're only supposed to practice martial arts with pure intentions. This is something that Roshi talks about in the original Dragon Ball, and it's something that people tend to overlook. The scene where it's established that Goku can ride Nimbus and Krillin can't, that's there to show you that Goku practices martial arts with a pure heart. Anytime you get upset because Goku is making wonky decisions in the name of practicing martial arts, you're supposed to go back and look at this point in the story and remember that Goku practices martial arts with a pure heart, with pure intentions. He has no malicious intentions, and that's the reason that he excels as a martial artist. Now, the other aspect of Budo that Roshi encourages in Goku and Krillin is essentially fighting not to win, but to improve yourself. Okay? And in order to do this, it's very important that you learn to manage your ego. If you have a ridiculously powerful ego, you're going to let malicious intent infect your mind, and then you're going to either kill your opponent, hurt them very badly, you're going to hold a grudge, etc., etc., etc. And that's the type of stuff that Budo and Master Roshi look down on, because that is essentially practicing martial arts without a pure heart and pure intentions. Now, in the Dragon Ball Super Broly film, we actually see Gogeta portrayed as a perfect example of the concept of Budo. So, as Gogeta is fighting Broly, and this has actually been a pretty controversial scene amongst the fans, but it's really not if you just think about the series as an allegory for the concept of martial arts and the teachings of Budo. So, Gogeta straight up almost wipes out Broly. Now, the reason he almost wipes out Broly is because in the heat of battle, he is trying to practice getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And he's successfully practicing Budo in this way. Now, if you were to surpass your opponent and wipe them out in one blow in a battle of life and death, that is just a side effect of the concept of Budo. So, I'm sure you've probably seen samurai films where two very honorable, disciplined, practicing samurai face each other, and their goal is to essentially kill each other in one blow. It's not to cause pain to their opponent, it's to just take their opponent out one blow and move on, right? Because that, and Budo applies to samurai. Samurai practice Budo as well. So when you see Gogeta straight up almost wipe out Broly, that's why. He is a perfect representation of the concept of martial arts in that way. And for that same reason, he allows Frieza to escape. Because, like Goku, he is a practicing martial artist. He is taming any malicious intent that he has towards Frieza in the name of practicing martial arts. Despite the fact that he has a massive ego, like Vegeta, because a lot of people don't really understand how Gogeta could let Frieza go if he's part of Vegeta, but that's why. He has a massive ego. He feels very safe in like how powerful he is, and so he doesn't feel like he's in any danger. It's very similar to how Broly felt when he was facing Ba. If you don't feel like you're in any danger, as a martial artist, you essentially can't wipe out your opponent because you would be doing it with malicious intentions at that point. And this is a perfect example of heart purity backfiring in Dragon Ball. That's something that happens constantly. It happens with Zeno. It happens with Goku. Essentially, Gogeta is a master at practicing the concept of Budo. Now, what's very, very interesting about this is in Taoist and Buddhist principles, by maintaining this sort of instinctual action and this sense of amorality, very similar to the angels and the destroyers are essentially a representation of two aspects of Budo and martial arts. Essentially, the entire idea behind Budo and the reason you practice it the way you do is it's sort of a way to manipulate reality and fate. I'm going to do a whole video breaking this down more in the future, but essentially by maintaining an amoral stance in combat, you prevent karma from infecting your life, and therefore you prevent any negative consequences that could come as a result of using violence. That is the reason that Sun Wukong is known as the victorious fighting Buddha, because he could use violence while also having freedom from samsara and the concept of karma. So Gogeta is really, in that way, a actual god of martial arts. The amorality that you're seeing him practice is a side effect of him being a god. He is above the concept of karma and morality, very similar to Whis and Beerus. And that's why I always encourage people to read Dragon Ball as a whole product rather than consuming it in small increments, because you will miss out on all the subtext and how the lore feeds into what they're trying to portray in the story if you don't take into consideration everything that's been established previously in the story. If you look at the product as a whole this way, it makes it much, much more enjoyable. And despite the fact that people tend to look at Gogeta as just like, you know, fan service, is implemented in a very, very cool way, and I think it's overlooked and underrated. So that's the reason I wanted to make this video. Maybe you'll have a bit more of an appreciation for Gogeta after you've seen this. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.